Thank you everyone for being here. We have Nasan Tur'un here from Berlin for his show No Surrender, as you know. This is very exciting. Second solo show at Dürrenmatt, and I'm very excited too because his first solo show was in 2017, which is when I started writing about art here in Istanbul, and I've been doing that consistently since then. So it's just fantastic to have this kind of timeline here to appreciate Nasan Tur'un's contribution and artworks, and it's fantastic. So let's just start right away. I want to ask Nasan about the opening artwork here, Tired Flagpole, which I think is this kind of entry into a kind of different way to interpret a national space. What could you say about this opening artwork? What kind of comment are you making socially, politically, personally?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for coming here. I'm glad here to have that opportunity to be here in a discourse with you, but also with the audience. Yes, I mean the tired flagpole is what it is somehow. I don't know if you saw that. It's at the entrance. It's so much a kind of a common object here in Istanbul or all over the world, a flagpole in front of a building, that it's also getting invisible somehow. But this time the flagpole is not really straight and showing in a powerful way the let's say the flags or symbols or ideologies which are behind of it. That time it becomes kind of getting from an object to a subject to a flagpole which has emotions and which is tired from being strong and just like lost his power and went like down. And kind of obvious also about maybe the content behind of it. For me especially, it has a lot to do of questioning national identities, nationalities, a flag which is always including a lot of people inside of let's say a country, a state, but at the same time also excluding a lot of people to be part of that surrounding. What can I say? I mean, kind of obvious thing, but I found it interesting to make something outside of the gallery also as a comment before entering the gallery with let's say a classic white cube exhibition space, to have something in public where also people who are maybe not inside of the gallery can see it and even maybe don't consider it as an art piece, or it's maybe a broken flagpole, or even don't see it as a flagpole at all.
I wonder if it's more a reflection of your experience with nationality, or is this also sort of introducing the show as if we were entering a different kind of territory in which the rules of nationality normally don't exactly apply? Maybe we have to bend our views on that.
Maybe a bit both of it. I mean, when we talk about nations, it's always about power. When we talk about politics, it's about power. These power structures are like on the topic all the time. I often, try to break this kind of rules. How, let's say, our society try to, give us kind of functionalities, how we should work or consider ourselves. I mean, in a way, it's also not only about like nationalities, it's also about the expectations to us, to all of us, somehow, to be always strong, to be, you know, like strict and powerful and never show weakness. So in case of that, that has also to do with that.
Interesting. Yes, and I think, you know, when I first sort of appreciate this show, I think there are so many sort of disparate, different elements, and I'm trying to bring it all together. And at the same time that you're commenting on, to the moment, sort of newsworthy issues, you're also commenting on what is visual art, what is its prehistory, why are we still doing this, and what is my role as an artist in communicating with myself, with art, with the world, sort of. And I'm just wondering if we could sort of have this sense of why we're looking at all of these things together here in this show, and if that's important to you to have a consolidated sort of point together.
I think first of all, maybe we have to think about, or I have to think always about when I act as an artist, also what kind of responsibilities I have, or I think I have, if I have that privilege, let's say, even if I, you know, like make that decision by my own to work in that field, it's still kind of a privilege what I can do. And this kind of having the time and the luxury to don't do anything else than really reflecting and making examinations and research about my surrounding, the world, that it can't be over me, you know, like like I decided to make art because I've seen their kind of possibilities to create another language maybe, which I can start which can be understandable always in a different way. So understanding is also something different in art. So understanding is not like what I thought it should, like the background behind of that artwork, let's say. It's always connected with the story and the personality of the people who look to these artworks, and connected with their own, you know, like identity somehow. And this is something which is a big quality inside of art, to create images and pictures which are always conceived differently from each of the audience, and also from my perspective it's different. But the base or the source is always, of course, me. And when I talk about me, it's not my, let's say, my skills or my idea of something or my thought or my direction. It's more about, let's say, the insecurities I have with the things I'm dealing with. And therefore I always try to work, when I do my artistic work, also in a very critical approach to myself, to my role, to who am I, and also love, of course, to open a discourse maybe with that, to sensibilize myself, but also to sensibilize through the artworks maybe some topics which can't be, you know, talk like that maybe in other medias. And so the same, I mean, like when I started or got invited again to make my second show here in Istanbul, for me it was quite clear that I can't just show some pieces and put them here together. It was very important for me to really, like make some new works, which the current situation of myself and the situation also here, not only in Turkey, in the world, like this whole, let's say, fragile situations of humanity, what we are living in at the moment, where violence became so present and where securities are not so secure as we thought maybe before, so that everything is super fragile, the whole system we are living in, and we all have to take our responsibility somehow. That I think about that, and me as an artist, he or she as a carpenter, or as a curator, or as an art critic, we have always to think maybe not only in an egocentric way about us, so more about in a broader sense.
I like that. It's fantastic. I like that you throw the reflection back onto the viewers of how to look again at our identity, our reflection. When we walk in, we see the mirror piece folded to a fighter jet, military plane, and at the same time you want to evoke the kind of paper airplane nostalgia of childhood, perhaps. It's just so as we go through, we see the camouflaged suits on the ground. There's this darkness with the shadows and signs. And is this something that a mood that you feel like you experience, whether it's in Germany or whether it's in Turkey or anywhere in the world, this kind of subtle, presence of children and militarism and the imagination, or is this something that you're exploring through the works for the first time?
No, I think one of the main things I'm doing is trying at least to analyze why are we doing what we're doing somehow, or why we are what we are, or why the society is reacting like that, how it is. So how that has, it's including of course this huge violence which comes out of the humans also to the other humans, let's say. Why is it like that? And it has a lot to do, I think, of this kind of subconscious steering, how we also experienced our childhoods, or how others are, try always to project their ways to how, let's say, a role of a boy or a girl should be. And when we come now to these mirrors, which are originally, the forms came out from paper planes, which are a very, let's say, naive and playful paper plane, but at the end it's not so naive and not so playful. It has also in the background something really serious. What we do a lot is to taking the design, let's say, of warplanes into this paper plane. So all these paper planes, what we play in and what we fold are based on mostly warplanes, and we have that kind of this romantic view also to it. I have that feeling always to make things in our childhood to play with it, but later on it became reality, and there is nothing about playing anymore. So it's a decision about killing or get killed. Yeah, so by unfolding that planes and using this form of foldings and putting it into this mirror steel work, which is a very sharp and hard material, but at the same time is mirroring you, like showing yourself, like when you look into mirror, but not anymore yourself. It's cutting you. It's changing your body in a totally way. It really fragmenting you in a very violent way. That was what I was interested in, to see the things not how in a naive way. So I think I'm really like working in a sociologic or anthropologic way of analytics also when I work with that kind of topics. So the entrance was important for me, that when you come in, that immediately you don't see yourself in the way you usually see. And it was interesting because I never thought, like, for example, by that mirror work about, let's say, social media, Instagram and all that stuff, the way how we present ourselves also in a, let's say, perfect way to the world, without any mistakes, without any, like, how do you say, or I don't know, spots, or, like, always filter, always fresh, always beautiful from the best angle. This, for example, I never thought about it, but then in talks here during that exhibition, it came out that a lot of people were like, like thinking about that when they saw that. For me, it was more about, for me personally, but it was more about, like how, the way you act is not the way you decide to act. It's the way maybe the whole life they prepare you to act like that, and it's very difficult to like in every day to find that out also, or the moment, or even go against this, because the social structure somehow expects also from you how to behave as a man, as a woman, or whatever, or as a little girl, as a transgender, or as a black person, as a white person, rich, poor, classes, and especially Turkey is a place where this plays a huge role, but not only Turkey, it's the same in Germany and elsewhere.
So we have this catalog, this is also the occasion of a book launch. Fantastic first time, the text is in Turkish, I've heard, and it's also in English and German. So I think in maybe a couple more questions, I'll open this up. If anyone has thoughts and ideas you want to share, ask. I could just sort of go back to, throughout Nasan, your career, it's just an incredible range of performances and publications and installations, and I'm just curious how you see the vehicle of this of a gallery show, and to express your works in particular, and thinking about this show exactly in a way.
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, like, as a vehicle, I don't see. I just see it as an opportunity to create a kind of encounters of people, or between art and people, or like that it makes something with the people maybe. And for me especially, it's always very special to show in Istanbul or show in Turkey at all, because I'm not doing it so often. Even I've done it in the past, yes, but I'm not living here. I'm from outside. I'm born and grown up in Germany. That doesn't mean that I'm German at all, because this kind of definition also, it comes always from outside. So I consider myself not in a national way. For me, like the gallery Dirim Art, I work now the second time, and even the second time, now after 4 years, a lot of things happened also inside of that 4 years, personally, worldwide, but also in Turkey in general. And so also the way of the artworks changed and the content bit changed, how I approach to that exhibition and why I choose especially that works for that exhibition and not for somewhere else. So in a very close work together with the curator Levent, we came up with that show at the end. But as a vehicle, of course, I mean, I never see an exhibition as a vehicle for a kind of career. It's an opportunity, which is a privilege, and this privilege I want to use then in the best way to make the honest and for me at least best way of presenting my art and doing new artworks for that show. So in terms of that, that's maybe the thing, like with that exhibition too.
Might anyone have something else perhaps to ask? I can also continue as well.
I want to ask how the video worked, which is kind of from 2016, or was it from
2006?
2006, sorry.
Or maybe even older, I forgot actually.
So how, as he said, like how does this exhibition work as a vehicle within your practice? I understand that it changes over time and so it cannot be seen as a vehicle. But I was wondering how that work specifically was incorporated into this, like how, what is the common denominator between that work and the rest of the show?
We could ask that the curator actually, because it was his idea in a way. But to come back to the work, let's say it's I forgot, is it 2006, 2004? So it's a work which, 17 years old already, and at that time I made a lot of performances in public spaces. Was the beginning of my artistic practice. So I've done it. Wherever I was doing performances, but not performance like where I invited audiences. I was interested in public space as a public space, also as a place which is, let's say, not safe, not a protected space, that it's art. To do something outside which can be considered as art, but mostly, of course, not, because nobody knew that I'm an artist and doing there. So I was doing somersaultings in different parts of the world where I was at that moment. I was lying in puddles, and this work was something which had a lot to do with my own anxieties, somehow. And that was an act of a physical act of running. So running is something what you do when you're really afraid of something, or when you really want to take something or get somewhere very fast somehow, let's say. But what you usually do it outside, and to create that kind of a dream segment. It's like a dream segment somehow. When you see somebody who's running like in a very aggressive way, like inside of an apartment and falling down and running, falling down and left and right, and you see just glimpse of the places, but at the end it's a running to something or from something away. You don't really can catch it, and that's what I liked actually. I don't like it so much when the end is already, like that I try to create images where it's not clear what it is, because it's also not clear for me very often. And it's a loop, in a looped way that you don't see the cutting also, the editing. So it's a ongoing, never-ending running, which has very metaphoric, like senses of life also, of struggle, of that. So and I wasn't even not thinking about this old work. I even presented here at Karşı Sanat 15 years ago, maybe once in a show. And then I presented it also in different other museums all over since then. But it was not a work which I really very, very often presented. Since a long time also not. And during the concept and the works, what I planned for here, and talking with with Levin, with the curator, he came up with the idea, let's position this also inside, because it has to do. But maybe we can give it now to you why it was like that.
When you were putting all these new works together, there was a dominator that said like all somehow touches the child place you are like sharing like in drawings or in shadow or like black, not platform, but the place. So this running act you have done also reminded me that that's like as if it's an act of a child, Generally, we do not know why a child's running now. It is just because they are full of energy. So I thought it might be interesting to, give another dimension of your earlier time placement here. Thank you for accepting the cooperation.
No, thank you. I mean, afterwards, I am super happy about that. Because it gives also the whole thing a bit, like a kind of another level somehow. You go deep inside of a darkness, and then you find yourself, behind somebody, and in a very physical way, because everything is very contemplative here. So it's really like, like slow down, looking in the mirror, changing of the mirror, looking to this once, and then with the shadow, it's changing the whole situation. The drawings are very, like ritual drawings. And this is a totally different physical level, which the show needed, I think.
Could I ask one more time? So I've only seen in the past just a few of your works in group shows, but then recently this MIT Press book came out. It was called Turks, Jews, and Other Germans in Contemporary Art, and it talked quite a lot about your works. At one point in the book they said that although you were born in Germany, you acquired citizenship between 2000 and 2005.
2000, I got the German citizenship.
Exactly, and you had a picture of yourself with a mustache on your ID, as to comment on being, the stereotypical image of Turkish people in Germany. Mm-hmm. And so you played with this stereotype, you commenting on German racism and things like this. I'm just wondering if you know, when reflecting on your relationship to nation states and their governments, it's as if you're coming from an oblique, a slanted angle, right? And I wonder if that's part of your expression, part of how you approach materials and concepts and...
Yeah, I mean, like this, like nationality, it played a huge role since I was a child, because I mean, you were somewhere else. I mean, like where your parent, like, you know, migrated there, even not migrated, you know, like just like were guests there, and you grow up as a child who always have, by the first introduction, tell from where you are. So that's the first thing what you do in every conversation. Yeah, it's the question where you are, where you're from, and you say, "I'm from Turkey." From Turkey, yeah, Turkish, Turkey. I mean, you say that so often that, let's say that the Turkish Germans there are much more Turkish because they have to again and again always say like they're Turkish without even knowing what is Turkish or not as a child, you know. And where I grew up was, let's say, an area in Germany, still the area of Germany which the most migrant population. In whole Germany, called Offenbach. And in Offenbach, there's 60% of migrant people, not Turkish, but also Turkish, but from all over the world. So I grew up actually with friends who came from Laos, they came from ex-Yugoslavia, they came from Morocco, they came from Italy, they come from Greece. So for me, it was like, yeah, you were aware of it, but you were all on one level. Somehow not German. Yeah, it was interesting. But when we talk now about that passport, actually this passport is not a passport, or it's not like that I become a German. It was by purpose an artistic act. It was an artistic project, my German passport. It was a time where also not only that the society want to hear from you who you are, yeah, or where you're from. Also the government, let's say you have to decide which side are you. It's like when friends to your family comes and say like, who do you love more, your mother or your father, you know? And you're getting like super stressed and you don't know what, you know, like, and that was a bit like that, you know, like German or Turkish. So I made an artistic work of it. I made a kind of a experiment, also a social experiment. I have to say also it was 2000, I mean it's 21 years ago, and at that time it was not fashion at all, like to have a mustache. It was not cool, like no DJs at that time had mustaches. Yeah, to wear a mustache were also like, you know, coming from an Anatolian part, like these Turks, which are mainly where in Germany, came from an Anatolian part, so I grew up the mustache, and look what happened in my everyday life. It was very interesting because I never thought that like that before, because it closed a lot of doors for me from one moment to the other. Yeah, to came up to a club with that mustache was like, okay, you're not coming inside anymore. Yeah, from woman it was like super unsexy. What that for a mustache, you know? And the other way around, or friends of me didn't want to walk with me somehow. Really, like, I mean, it was because of that mustache. I mean, and not to fit, let's say, inside of the circle you were before. Yeah, maybe the same if I would. Not me, but the woman would wear a scarf or something from one moment to the other. That would be also like for a lot of people like that, but open other doors then, and then from one moment to the other, when I passed Arab cafes, let's say, or Turkish, they said salam alaikum to me, even if I didn't know that people, and before not, and so on. And that was very interesting for me to see. And then also, you know, like to take an image then from me and go to the German office and put this image, which wasn't me from the appearance, but what people try to project always on me. Then I got that passport, the German passport, where I got later on much more problems in borders than before with my Turkish passport, where I needed a lot of paperwork to get a visa to London or whatever, you know, my bank account and whatever. Yeah, but at least I was defined like that. The Turk wants to go to London. But now, a German with a mustache and looks like that, okay, suspicious, always calm and, you know, like staying 1 hour, 2 hours for control in every border. That was also very interesting, but also I considered that as a project. And I never had that feeling, actually, to sit between the chairs or something like that, or sit between cultures. Because for me, that was not so defining myself so much. It's a long, big thing. I mean, like, because it has also to do with the loss of identity of my parents, maybe coming from a little village from Turkey to Germany, and, you know, and that kind of, situation of, working class family over there, didn't know where your home is, and that projected a lot to the kids, of course. And then also this kind of, you know, like the parents, the man, the father, the patriarch, you know, like who usually deal with everything and making the decisions, can't even read that paper, and you as an 8-year-old boy have to read that paper for him. And, you know, like this power things changed, and that a lot of people suffered over that, of course, or still suffering like that. And there are a lot of things, of course, in childhood which came together, but you know, like art is a tool to analyze that also a bit, and that what we are doing somehow, and bringing it into some works where we face our demons somehow, or the demons is facing you, and you learn also not to be afraid, or even not to be ashamed of to be afraid.
I think we're good. If anyone has anything more they'd like to add, perhaps?
Yeah, please feel free, because for that I'm here. I mean, if you have any question or comment.
Yes, okay. I think, thank you so much, everyone.
One short notice at the end, because we have that special edition here in the gallery of Me and Me in a short, in a small version of, or maybe Levin, you can tell something about it.
Thank you very much for coming. First of all, thank you, Matt and Nasan,
Thank you.
for coming all the way from Berlin for this event. We have a small version of this particular piece, Me and Me, at the entrance. Maybe some of you already noticed. It is smaller, but in terms of its technique, it's changed also, a lenticular print. That is also something we're familiar with from our childhood, actually. That left-hand side part changes according to the angle you look at the picture. So Nasan wanted to make a contribution to Morçatı Association by creating another version of this work, which is limited edition for 200, signed by Nasan, where you can see the, and if you want to contribute, you can have one. as well as the catalogs. Nasan will be here for a couple of minutes more, so in case you want to buy your copy, he is here to sign it for you. Thank you very much for coming again.
Thank you so much. Thank you.